Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Lesroy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Good afternoon, and I welcome you to another edition of Working for You. This is the weekly government program where you can keep updated in terms of what is happening within the government. I am Lesroy Williams, your host. Today I have with me two representatives from the Ministry of Tourism who are going to be speaking to us about being climate smart and, of course, sustainable tourism. Specifically in a climate smart sustainable tourism forum that will be held here in St. Kitts under the theme Good for Us, Better for Us. And that will take place from September 6th to 8th this year. I have with me, no stranger to this program, Dianelle Taylor Williams, who is the Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, with specific responsibility for sustainable tourism. And I also have with me the Coordinator of Sustainable Tourism within the Ministry of Tourism, and that is Annette Esquivel. Did I pronounce it correctly?
You did, Mr.
Welcome to this program.
Thank you.
I want to thank, of course, all of you who are tuned in to today's program. I hope that it would be one in which you can learn a lot about tourism. Tourism is so important to our economy in this day and age, the St. Kitts and Nevis economy. It is the largest revenue earner. But of course, like everything else, if we don't take care of our tourism product, we can basically lose it. And today, the guests are here to speak about being climate smart and sustainable tourism, which is about keeping our tourism product, growing our tourism product, but at the very same time, thinking in terms of generations to come, sustainability, and so on. So I am going to begin with Dianelle, who is, of course, an expert, if I can say, in this area. Dianelle, could you explain to us a little bit about the forum that is coming up? What is meant by climate smart, sustainable tourism? Tell us more about the forum, the team, the speakers, the topics, the organizers.
Okay. Climate smart sustainable tourism. Many persons would have heard us speak about sustainable tourism, which is tourism that takes into consideration present situation but considers also future generations, being mindful of the socio-cultural concerns, the economic concerns, and that is a very big player, and also the environmental issues. So that's where those three issues merge. That's when we have sustainable tourism. Now, if we're environmentally concerned, climate would be a part of environmental considerations. It also has to play a part in the social situations in a country, because when there's climate change, it impacts people's lives. It impacts people's livelihoods. We are hearing of more frequent storms. We are hearing of greater intensity in storms when we do have them. And something that is presently on everyone's mind as you go around the island is situations such as sargassum seaweed. And we have learned that that is as a result of the climate change situation. Now, to be climate smart, we have to be looking at solutions that take into consideration mitigation and adaptation, because in some cases we cannot change what is happening, or in most cases we can't do much, but we have to learn to adapt to it. How do we adapt to these situations where, for example, we might have less rainfall, drought situations? Do we need to change our habits in terms of our water usage? So those are things that we would consider in a climate smart, sustainable tourism forum. We have quite a few presenters, and they're both local, regional, and they're both local and international presenters. And so what we have done is we have decided within this forum to look at the topics. We have general sessions, we also have workshops, and we have study tours. So it's not just about a sit-down session, it's an opportunity to network, to interact, to have a say. Because as a matter of fact, one of the sessions, just before we go on our study tour, it's called Stakeholders Speak Out. Stakeholders have an opportunity to speak out, and that would be local as well as regional participants speaking out about the way tourism is managed both locally and regionally. I think I'll yield to Annette to speak about the topics that we have for this forum. Annette?
So like Danielle mentioned, it's both about climate change, being climate smart, and sustainable tourism. And so while there is climate change adaptation, another big part of it is climate change mitigation. So we do know that climate change is happening, but we also know that we don't have to contribute to it. There are ways to mitigate both the causes and the effects. And that is really important for tourism, especially on small islands, as we see the effects of climate change much more than larger nations do. So that's one of the sessions is focusing on that. We also have sessions that focus on sustainable tourism best practices, on resiliency in tourism and sustainable tourism development. And the pieces that I'm the most excited about are the workshops. I think that those are really exciting, really valuable. 3 workshops to choose from, all hands-on. The first is communicating sustainability. We have an internationally recognized documentary filmmaker coming to lead this workshop and to actually give hands-on practice to participants about how they can share their sustainability story, because what we're seeing in this day and age is that tourists are very smart about where they're choosing to spend their vacation and their money, and they're doing that ethically. And so they're looking for places that benefit the community, the economy, as well as the environment when they're choosing their vacation spots.
Sure.
And we want to make sure that everyone who's offering that message gets to their potential customers and their potential guests. So that's a really exciting workshop that we have going. We also have the 5 C's is leading a workshop on how to integrate the sea coral development tool, which is a tool to understand the impact.
You said 5 C's?
Yes.
What are those 5 C's?
Help me with that, Daniel.
This Caribbean Community Climate Change Center.
I always
That's
get
the
I
5C,
see.
Caribbean Community
mixed up.
Climate Change Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's based in Belize, but it's for CARICOM.
Okay.
And that's a tool to understand the impacts of a new development project, and to understand if it's going to have positive or negative impacts, and how to mitigate the negative impacts. And the third workshop that we're doing is actually going to be with Ocean Terrace Inn. They are outstanding in their sustainability practices. They have interwoven sustainability into their business model, and it's been very successful. They've won multiple awards, and they're going to be doing a hands-on best practice workshop with participants, going through everything that they've done, visiting sites for their philanthropy program, and then helping the participants figure out how to interweave their own sustainability priorities into their business models.
Okay. How can climate change be used as an opportunity?
How can it be used as an opportunity? That's a great question. Well,
Especially for small island developing states like St. Kitts and Nevis.
well, there are a lot of ways. I think that the biggest one is that it's an opportunity to rethink the traditional tourism business model. Instead of only relying on resorts and sun and sea and sand, you have the opportunity to really diversify your tourism products and make more eco-tours, more rainforest focus, or even have philanthropy tourism, where there are multiple examples of this around the world. But one idea that we were bouncing around is, coral regeneration. If we could start a program where tourists actually came in and helped us do the coral regeneration program as part of their tourism experience, that would be really unique, really beneficial, and it would put St. Kitts on the map in a totally different realm than we are right now. So that's a big opportunity.
The other one is with the coral regeneration, it also impacts livelihood, because when you have the coral reefs, it means more fish. That means we get to eat fish, and lobsters will grow. Visitors come a lot for lobsters and stuff like that. We also have the sargassum seaweed situation, where that's an opportunity for enterprise in terms of creating a new business.
I'm interested in that, because for me it's just a aside for sore eyes.
Yes.
How can that be harnessed? How can it be used?
It can be used as fertilizer, and we've already had studies done regionally. And just recently I attended a meeting, and it was done locally at the CFBC. The students did a study. They did a controlled study with regard to the use of seaweed, the sargassum seaweed, as fertilizer. And it was found that it did make a difference for them. They tried it in 3 or 4 different contexts. Dried, they did it wet, and they also did it, what was the third one? Where it was mashed. Yeah. Pulverized. They did that. And the one that was pulverized, sort of like blended, that one, the leaves, the color of the leaves was better, the fruits were bigger, and the coloring of the fruit was better. And they recognized that this had, and the number of leaves and so on were better. So they recognized that this is an opportunity for us to replicate and take to bigger farms, because it's available in abundance. It also becomes a nuisance to the fishermen. So you would be helping another side of the economy while you're growing the agriculture sector. So it is an opportunity. Fishermen can also, for example, since it's become a nuisance to them, and we discussed that at that meeting, maybe since they're not getting fish, they can harvest the sargassum seaweed. Then this could be sold to farmers who would then create the fertilizer for their farms. So we are now helping with the whole chain in terms of the economics within the island.
And there's multiple examples of projects like these. The ministry already has one that we're working on, the Rails to Trails program, which is, again, is taking the unused Sugar Railway and turning it into a tourist product, but also to help the community, to help local economics. There's a lot of benefits to these projects, and so there's already some in motion. There's a lot that are being brainstormed and proposed. And so you'll get to learn a lot more about these different ideas and best practices in the session, the forum.
Right. How we're doing all of these things. We're talking about sustainability, which is extremely important, especially in an industry like the tourism industry. We're talking about being climate smart. We're talking about employing the best practices that there are in tourism. We are talking about risk management, tourism resiliency, adaptation, mitigation, and so on. What does all of this mean to the man on the street, the man and woman on the street?
Well, first it means that one of our biggest economies is going to last. It's going to have reliable jobs. It's going to have new jobs available for the long term, for generations to come. It's not just about providing for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren, leaving a legacy. And secondly, it means that we're not going to be using up all of our resources. Again, making it last. We're not going to be using our environmental resources or our energy resources, using them all up, and then having to scramble for other options later on.
How does this translate tangibly for the man and woman on the street.
The jobs, because if we protect the industry now, for example, if we look at the risk management, we know very often people tend to want to be on the beaches. They want their villa right on the seashore and all of that because they want to experience it, not taking into consideration the impacts when we have storm surge, right? Now, if you build with these things in mind, bearing in mind the socio-cultural issues, the environmental issues, and people's livelihoods, when you start telling people they need to build a little further inland, they have to do that. They take tours, or they don't converge on the beaches in masses, en masse, then you're protecting it. It means that the person who works in the hotel industry, the guy who has the beach chair rental business, will have a business, or his children or his children's children will have a business for years to come, because you're not degrading the beach. Because one of the things we focus on in our foundation is the beach situation, marine and coastal conservation. What are the steps we can take to ensure that we still have beaches? And I keep telling people, we cannot compete with other destinations who are our neighbors when it comes to beaches. Anguilla has pink sand beaches.
Yes.
Antigua claims to have 365 beaches. St. Kitts, we have less than a dozen good beaches, right? We have to do our best to ensure that these beaches are kept, so that the guy who is selling drinks on the beach or renting chairs and umbrellas on the beach will still have a place to go. We know, for example, that one of the beaches locally is all messed up because of storm surge over the years, and we have to go in and do work to replenish that beach, because if we were to wait on Mother Nature, it could take maybe 50 to 100 years. We have to do it in a proper way, because then we would also have a situation where you do it, you're just filling a pothole and not taking the whole road into consideration. So you do it in such a way that it is protected. We don't have the same situation. But by doing that, this business that's on the beach, or the businesses that are on the beach, the people who are employed by them remain employed. And as a matter of fact, this is one of the things we are seeing now when we start talking about sustainable tourism. We have put certain programs in place. For example, music festival. That was one of the objectives of creating a music festival in the shoulder period. Restaurant week was also brought in for what would be usually the slow period.
Yes.
And I remember last year one hotelier said, restaurateur said to us that this year we were able to keep our staff working every day for the couple months, which would have been the slow period, because we had business as a result of restaurant week, during restaurant week, and after restaurant week. So where people would have been getting 1 day work or 3 days work because it's the slow season, they were able to work the entire 5 days.
Yes.
Because of these things. That is what sustainable tourism speaks to.
So part of the sustainability, if I hear you correctly, is the act of diversification.
Exactly.
Within the sector itself.
Right.
Exactly.
So that you will create more opportunities for people all year round. Because it can be a seasonal
business.
A seasonal business. And usually in the Caribbean and in St. Kitts and so on, the tourist season is usually that period when it's cold up north.
Right.
And people usually, snowbirds, and people come for the sand, the sun, and the sea. That is where that came from. But now there are so many other options.
Exactly. If we look at
tourists, adventure tourists, sports tourists, people are traveling for many more reasons now, and to be able to diversify our product, like you said, and be able to meet those needs, it's going to bring us a niche of tourists that we haven't had before, and that we're not having to compete with the other islands in the region for.
And now I am hearing about even medical tourism.
Oh yes. People come for recuperation. They've had major surgery. They would come and recuperate, especially people who have the money, for example, to do cosmetic surgery. While the process is taking place, you don't want to be seen by everybody. So you want to go to a place where you can relax and recuperate without being in the eyes of the public. And those people tend to spend a whole lot of money to do that. You have people who have, for example, fertility clinics and stuff like that. they want to go away. They don't want to be at home. They do that thing. They have to be here for maybe 2 weeks while they're doing that. But they're here. They're tourists. They spend 2 weeks here. They have to stay in some sort of property.
Yes.
They have to eat. And people might want to go out and experience the destination, transportation. That's money being made. So that's an option for us in terms of medical tourism. And that's something that has been recommended to us as a destination that we should seriously consider. I know it's happening in a small way. It's not full blown, but that is something that we have considered. And those are things that can help to ensure that you have business all year round, because part of sustainable tourism is to reduce the length of the off season.
Yes. Now, a little bit more about the forum. Annette, who are some of the organizers of this forum?
Okay. The forum is being co-organized by the Caribbean Tourism Organization and the St. Kitts Ministry of Tourism. So those are the two organizations that have really been working day in and day out for the past 5 months or so, making this dream a reality. But we also have some important partners that have been supporting us, and that includes Sustainable Travel International, which has been a long time NGO partner with the Ministry of Tourism here in St. Kitts, and that's actually who I am stationed here through, is Sustainable Travel International. And we also have support from the local Sustainable Destination Council, which is a group made up of both private and public interests who care about seeing sustainable tourism in St. Kitts and seeing the destination thrive long term. And so they have been invaluable in planning this forum as well. And that's just a couple of our...
The main organization.
The main organizations.
Yes.
Okay, and some of the speakers.
Well, the speakers...
Daniel, you're one.
I'm one of the speakers. We also have P.S. Henry Morton leading the charge in terms of presenting on what we are doing in St. Kitts. St. Kitts, in terms of sustainable tourism, we are highlighting the sustainable initiatives that have been undertaken by the Ministry of Tourism or in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism. We also have, and it is also a speaker, but we have people like Dr. Martha Honey. She's one of the speakers. We have Ina Harvey from AICA in the regional office. We have Ronald Jackson from CDEMA, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. We have CTO also doing a presentation on the work that's being done by CTO within the region to promote the Caribbean brand externally. And we also have Kimberly Conahan from National Geographic. And I would like to say at this point that National Geographic has also been a partner, a major sponsor in the forum. They have sponsored the appearance of the keynote speaker to the forum.
Your keynote speaker is
Andrew McCarthy.
And who is he? Same as you don't know.
Andrew McCarthy is an American actor, best known for St. Elmo's Fire, Weekend at Bernie's, Mannequin, Pretty in Pink. But he's also a travel writer and a TV director. And he's been most recently in such TV series as Law and Order, all the different Law and Order series. He's also been in Royal Pains. So if people were to look out, they would say, oh, that's a guy. I've seen him before. They might not know the name, but if you were to look, you would reckon he's very recognizable. And he's going to be here courtesy of National Geographic Traveler, for which he's also an editor-in-chief.
Okay, so you're going to have some of renowned experts in sustainable tourism and climate change.
Definitely. Quite a few of them.
Right. Now, how can people actually sign up for this forum?
For locals, and I don't know if people are hearing me outside of here, but for locals, you can go to the website. It's www.caribbean, S as in sugar, T as in tango, C as in Charlie, caribbeanstc.com, and there are 3 or 4 options for registration. Local registration, you click on that link and you download the page, and you complete it and you bring it into the Ministry of Tourism on Port Zante, registration fee is $150 per person. There are also online registration options available for persons outside of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I would like to point out here, for anybody who might be thinking that, why $150 US? If you think about it in comparison to the people who have to fly in here, they have to find accommodation, yet their registration fee is $800 US. You're going to get the same exact presentations, same opportunities to interact and network, same social events, and same meals that are provided, as well as transportation for the study tours. So if you look at it, the true value of this event for the persons who are participating is $800 US or more. But as a local, as a resident of St. Kitts Nevis, and I need to stress that it's not just for St. Kitts, it's St. Kitts and Nevis, you pay $150 US. We also have extended a special rate, an extra special rate to our students. I know that school is opening in some cases that very day of the forum, but we are saying if we're speaking sustainability, youth must be involved. And so we have come up with a rate of $150 EC for students. They just need to complete the registration form, bring a copy of their student ID along with the registration form, and $150 EC. We are also encouraging local businesses. Perhaps you can also sponsor a student to participate in the forum. I mean, all of us, business sector and government, should be concerned about our youth involvement in opportunities such as this.
Because if this is the way in which St. Kitts and Nevis is moving in terms of the economy, and tourism being the largest revenue generator, then our young people have to come on board.
Definitely.
Exactly.
And so therefore they have to see how tourism can create opportunities for them, which means education in tourism and so on. So maybe more people have to start to think of studying hospitality, tourism management, and so on.
They are also the innovators. And we need that in tourism, especially as a small destination. We don't have the land space as some other destinations, but we can create the experience that is felt in an even bigger country through technology and innovation.
Yes.
And that is what we want. They have the ideas. So that is what we are relying on. How do we move forward with youth involvement, but getting them to share their ideas, to work along with us, because we might have been doing things a certain way over the years, never thought of it in a different way. Here comes a youth perspective that gets us to look at it through different eyes. And I think that is why it is so important they are part of this event.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, on that note, the networking opportunity for this in general, but especially for students, if they're at all interested in hospitality or tourism, the networking opportunity, there's multiple social events, there's multiple panels and workshops where they'll be interacting one-on-one with experts, and not only from St. Kitts, but regional and international experts. And that's invaluable to have if you're going into this industry.
Sure. So the youth are your target. Who are some of the other targets that you have?
We are encouraging all tourism stakeholders to be involved. And in a small economy such as ours, everybody is a tourism stakeholder because tourism affects every one of us. So you have a stake in the success of this event. You also have an opportunity for you to educate yourself about what is happening in tourism.
Okay, now Annette, I know you spoke a lot about the best practices in sustainable tourism. Could you outline what some of those best practices are?
Well, it's really taking into account the three parts of sustainability, like we've talked about a bit so far. A lot of people think that sustainability just means environmentally friendly or that you're a tree hugger going green, but that's just one portion of it. It is important, it is necessary, but it can't be sought after at the expense of our social cultural preservation or our economies, our livelihoods. So all three of those have to benefit for something to be truly sustainable. And so in some ways, best practices, it's going to differ, of course, right? Are we talking about a small restaurant? Are we talking about a hotel? Are we talking about a government agency? It's all going to be different. And all of those are going to be spoken about at the forum in different ways with different case studies. But again, one example that comes to mind right away, of course, is our host venue, OTI, Ocean Terrace Inn. They are definitely a best practice case study of they are environmentally sustainable. They work with local agro-processors, local farmers to not only source their produce locally, but then to use the food scraps back as fertilizer. So you have this sustainable cycle happening there. That's also economically sustainable, having local farmers, agro-processors be supported and not have that be unreliable. So it's a reliable livelihood there for those producers, as well as community. They have a program where they work with a local school right around the corner from them with the primary students, and their chef, I believe, right, goes in and teaches them how to cook and farming. It's a wonderful program that they have with the local primary school there. So right there, pretty simple ways, but they're covering all the different components of sustainability and making them key parts of their business model.
Okay. Now, the Caribbean Tourism Organization has, or is going to have, a Sustainable Tourism Awards ceremony at some point.
Right.
Am I correct?
Yep.
And I realized that St. Kitts and Nevis has made it into the finals
We have.
for the excellence in sustainable tourism.
Yes, we did.
Could you speak a little bit more to that, Diane? That is excellent.
St. Kitts and Nevis actually, well, St. Kitts actually, Destination St. Kitts was nominated for 3 areas.
Yes.
We made it in the finals in 2 areas. Excellence in sustainable tourism speaks to our initiatives that we have been promoting, that we've been using to promote sustainable tourism. We've done quite a few things, one of which is being replicated in some other destinations. That is having a destination stewardship council, which is made up of public and private sector interests. We are looking not at sustainable tourism, because when we say sustainable tourism, immediately people think only of the Ministry of Tourism or the Tourism Authority or something like that. Sustainable tourism speaks to managing your destinations, is destination management sustainably. So we've done that. We've created that council. We've also gone on to create a travel philanthropy program and a sustainability charter, which has not been done anywhere else before. We've developed a business charter for sustainable tourism so that people can get the opportunity to identify things that they're doing sustainably and have the opportunity to share that information about their practices. How do you market yourself in terms of the activities you've undertaken to manage your property or your restaurant or whatever it is sustainably. We've done quite a few other things. We've gotten a community tourism officer on board. We've never had a community tourism officer, and that person is to work to liaise with the communities to get them on board in terms of sustainable destination management and in terms of tourism, creating new tourism products.
And your Heart of
St. Kitts Foundation comes,
yes.
That is something that we're being acknowledged for, because very often people travel to a destination but there's no mechanism in place for them to give back.
Yeah, so the Heart of St. Kitts Foundation was created to be that mechanism so that visitors and locals as well as businesses can take a portion of the profits from tourism and better St. Kitts with it. And so we have 4 objectives that we support projects in, and that is marine and coastal conservation, historical site preservation, waste management, and community tourism diversification, like we've been talking about
Yes.
before, getting the community involved. And so the Heart of St. Kitts Foundation is it's really innovative, like Daniel was saying, and it's been successful. Our first goal was to raise the profile and get awareness out there, and that has been successful. We have online social media platforms, websites. We have people calling in to speak to us about it, and now our goal is to support community-driven projects in those 4 objectives. And so we're very soon going to be putting out a call for proposals for projects around St. Kitts that we can support using those tourism dollars that have been given back to us. And so that's a really exciting initiative, and I think that's a large part of this recognition from the CTO as well.
Right. Maybe, when they have the next Caribbean Tourism Organization Sustainable Tourism Awards, we'll find ourselves in some of the other categories.
Of course.
For example, like heritage protection, community benefit, which I think is, how the community is benefiting.
Right.
Sustainable accommodation. We have a new set of hotels and so on coming on stream. And the Agro-Tourism Award.
Yes.
Agro-tourism. Is that the nexus between agriculture and tourism?
Yes.
Probably we need to develop that a little bit more.
Right. And I want to point out here, the nominations do not have to come from the Ministry of Tourism. I think people misunderstand. Individual businesses, and if you were to look on the website, you would notice a lot of the nominations came from private sector businesses. And so that's what we want to encourage our local businesses to do, is to start asking when the call for nominations come out and submit the information in relation to your business or your organization. Because I know for a fact that with respect to the award which we've been selected to be a finalist in, the other 2 competitors, the other 2 finalists in that category are private sector businesses. So you're coming up against private sector. It's more private sector than public sector. So our private sector partners need to come on board. I was hoping that this year, because the event was being held here, we would have copped all 7 awards. That's what was my dream. But then somebody woke me up. So we settled
And
for
you copped 2.
We copped 2 so far.
But you're in the finals for the 2.
2, yes.
And you're hoping that you will come
Win.
out, you will win those
Both
2.
of them.
Both
Yes.
of them.
Knock on
Yes.
wood.
Knock on wood. Okay, now, in terms of the community benefit, how the communities in St. Kitts and Nevis are benefiting from tourism. Have you ever done a survey?
Why, yes. We have done a survey. We actually recently just completed a resident satisfaction survey about the tourism industry on St. Kitts. That survey, we made sure that it was representative of all different age groups, of all different locations on the island, all different education, income levels. We really made sure to try to reach out to all the different groups of residents on the island and to understand both their satisfaction with tourism as it is, as well as where they want to see it developing in the future, as well as their interest in becoming a part of the tourism industry.
Okay.
Whether they want to start working for accommodations, as tour guides, whether they would participate in trainings for such things. And the goal of this survey was to really have it inform the future of our tourism policy as well as tourism development projects.
You know, one of the problems I have with people doing surveys and things of that sort is that sometimes you never get the result of the survey. Why would I be involved in a survey that is supposed to be about me, be about my needs, what I would like to see? And at the end of the day, the results of the survey, or whatever it is, are never shared They're never published. People don't get any sort of feedback. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Well, in this case, that is not what's going to happen. As a matter of fact, during the forum, we are going to be presenting the results of, this is where we're going to launch the results of the resident satisfaction survey that took place a short while ago. So here's where people have another opportunity and another reason why, in terms of making a decision whether or not they should be at the forum. You get to hear back what are the perceptions of residents of St. Kitts
Yes.
with regard to tourism and tourism development on St. Kitts. So that is one of the presentations that will be made.
Okay. Now, in terms of your sponsors for this Climate Smart Sustainable Tourism Forum, who are some of your sponsors?
Well, we spoke earlier about the National Geographic Traveler as our main sponsor so far. We also have sponsorship through Christoph Haber. We have sponsorship from OTI, who is our host venue. And Delil Walwyn has just recently come on board in terms of offering sponsorship. We're still reaching out to other persons in the private sector to come on board and sponsor some activity, some part of the forum. As anyone can appreciate, having a forum of this magnitude is a major undertaking. And also one of the big components of sustainable tourism is that there is partnership. It's not being done operating in a silo.
Yeah.
We must partner with the public and private sectors, must partner in order for it to be truly sustainable. As a matter of fact, the sustainable tourism model speaks of partnership as being the foundation for sustainable tourism. And that is why we have been reaching out to our colleagues in the private sector to sponsor various activities which form a part of the Sustainable Tourism Forum. We also have the Heart of St. Kitts Foundation as a sponsor. We have the CTO Foundation sponsoring. We have SIDIMA as a sponsor. Caribbean Development Bank is a major sponsor of participation by regional participants. And so those are the main sponsors we have to date.
We do have a couple other local sponsors, and that's for the study tours. So there will be 4 different study tour options, and those are Brimstone Hill, Fortress National Park, St. Kitts Eco Park, Carabel Boutique and Romney Manor, and Wingfield Estate, and Kittishan Hill. And so all of those destinations have come on board and are sponsoring those fees and those costs that would be associated with those visits. So.
Okay, now sponsorship for this forum will benefit who?
Everybody who participates, because there are costs involved with hosting the event. Now, government is putting in a major portion of that. But in order for it to be successful, we need to partner with them, or we would not have been able to do it on the magnitude and at the level that we are doing it at this time.
Or with all the events that we are including.
Exactly.
And there's a CTO Scholarship Foundation.
Yes. And what CTO is doing, and this is not for local sponsorship, that's for regional sponsorship. A portion of regional sponsorship goes to the CTO Scholarship Foundation, which supports Caribbean students doing studies in tourism and hospitality.
Okay, good. Right. Now we are thinking in terms of smart cities, sustainable cities. Could you tell us a little bit more about this? For example, we have Bastille. The forum is about being climate smart. It's about sustainable tourism. You have rural tourism, you have city tourism. Sometimes the challenges for tourism can be in the city, especially when it comes to sustainability and the climate and all that sort of a thing. In St. Kitts and Nevis, what are some of the ways in which we can have smart cities, reduction in pollution,
Energy.
garbage,
Yep.
and some of these things?
Yeah. So I'm hearing a lot of the logistical concerns that come with the overpopulation of tourism that sometimes happens, and that's really noticeable in cities where you get the congestion. So there are quite a few ways that that can be gone about to try to lower those negative factors, and some of those are already happening. And that includes a lot of the systems that are being put into place on the port with the taxi drivers when the cruise ships come in. The logistical things that aren't very flashy to talk about but are key, those are being undertaken and can make really positive differences, as well as recycling.
Yes.
That's a big complaint that I hear a lot, is that we don't have a recycling facility on St. Kitts, which is true, we don't. Because that would be illogical. We don't have the population for that. But what we do have a location that if we get our recyclables there and he can collect enough, he can ship them off the island, they can be recycled instead of adding them to our landfill.
Right.
So looking for these alternatives, it may not be the first thing that pops in your head for recycling, but that doesn't mean it's not a viable alternative. As well as pollution, another big concern, especially from vehicles. And that what that could mean is maybe reevaluating the way that we think about getting tourists around the island, especially around Basseterre. One idea that I've heard since I've been here is making a part of the town maybe just walking.
Pedestrian areas.
Pedestrian areas only for especially the historical downtown portion. I've heard a lot of support for that, and that's happened in a lot of places, and it's been really successful. But it could also mean maybe bicycle tours,
Yes.
or changing the vehicles, more large buses or green vehicles. There's a lot of different options that could be done.
Or
this.
planting trees.
Planting
Because of the
trees.
concrete, the heat being generated in the cities is usually, temperature is usually higher. But if you plant trees and around the islands, or for example on rooftops, those that have concrete roofs, you use that, it keeps the buildings cooler, it keeps the area cooler. Those are things that are being done in some places. You build to get more of the northeast trade winds, rather than building and then having to put in air conditioned units. You build so you capitalize on the shade and all of that. As a matter of fact, recently I went to a workshop which spoke to sustainable cities, and they were talking about the way Princess Street, which is a perfect example of the houses. Has anyone ever wondered why is it always cool when you walk in Princess Street? Because it was built, the way the houses were built, it was built in such a way that you have shade no matter which direction the sun is. So in the early morning you would probably have the shade created being created but from one side of the street, and in the evening the shade is created from the other side of the street. So it's always cool as you walk through there. So when we think about construction in tourism, how do you capitalize on these things? Getting the best light, getting the best shade, so you don't have to use as much energy in terms of cooling systems for rooms. Those are some of the things that can be done within the Basseterre area, and especially in terms of the greenery. We need plants. People can just have plant pots just outside windows, and it makes such a big difference in terms of the temperature. Very often
And
you
the
hear
air
people
quality.
saying, right, and the air quality, people saying, especially people who live in the rural areas, they will tell you, Basseterre hot, bad. It's the same temperature around, but because of the buildings and lack of greenery, the feel of temperature is hotter than it is anywhere else.
I don't know what can be done, but sometimes you go around Basseterre and the drains. I need not say anymore.
We need to remind our people. That is what we need to do.
You know, the smell.
Exactly.
it's really not nice. We need to really work on.
I think that's one of the things
on
that we
that.
have to work on because I think because it's old Bastia and the way people constructed in those times before the regulations were put in place in terms of where your grey water goes, that's why we have that situation. We are coming to a point where we're going to have to look really hard at finding some way to change that and to have people collect their grey water. Grey water can also be converted, to be used to water plants, right? That could be used for something else instead of for consumption, can be used for other things rather than sending it down. It stays, it stagnates, and the stench is unbearable. People also
Especially in the
throw
heat.
things into these drains, which are actually supposed to be channels to carry water, not your grey water, or not switch down to the ocean. We have to be mindful of things like that.
So
Or
yeah,
garbage.
so it seems to me that a lot of the sustainability has to come really from the community in terms of these things. Community awareness in terms
Right.
of how you keep your communities clean. You don't throw things into drains and all of that sort of a thing. In that way, you are playing a very important part in making our tourism product really sustainable.
Exactly.
Exactly. Changing mindsets and then one step further, changing actions.
Right. You know, now a lot of times when we have these forums and so on, you have a lot of speakers and they come and they give you all kinds of nice highfalutin things and the language and so on. You and I can probably understand it. But for the man who is driving a taxi and so on, how do you break this down? One. And two, will the stakeholders at this forum be given a chance to hear their views?
So like Danielle mentioned before, they will. The stakeholder speak out is a key
Okay.
portion of the forum. And that was something that we made, both the CTO and the St. Kitts Ministry of Tourism were very concerned and made sure was part of the program. Could not be cut, could not be shortened down, because we know how valuable that is. The other thing that I would say in terms of your first point is the Ministry of Tourism has been doing sustainable tourism trainings throughout this past year, as well as previously, for different stakeholders, different arenas. And one thing I will say is that we've had a variety of attendees from all different arenas. And while they may not speak with the acumen of the top experts, they understand what we're talking about and they're able to contribute vital pieces to the discussion and to the plans for moving forward.
Right.
Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, basically, it should be at that. It will be at the level. The stakeholder speak out also gives you the opportunity to say what you think. Having heard all the presentations over the past day and a half, people get the opportunity to speak, and I agree with Annette that they do contribute. They do have ideas, and we're open to their ideas as well.
Okay, great. I think it's time for us to go to the phone lines and to see if we have some questions, some suggestions in terms of tourism. The numbers to call are 465-2555. That's 465-2555. And the overseas number is 1718-577-2916. That's 1718-577-2916. We welcome your calls. There's no one on the line at the moment, so we can continue our discussion. Now, part of sustainability, of course, I think encapsulates the whole thing about local transportation. Those things within the industry, of course, we have transportation, the accommodation, the entertainment, and all of that sort of a thing. Some people claim that, look, yes, we have the music festival and so on, but we don't have enough nightlife. And then on the other hand, Nightlife would mean, with tourism, that we increase our stayover tourists. There's someone on the line. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams,
Good afternoon.
and good afternoon to the ladies there from the tourism department.
Good afternoon.
Nice updating us and uplifting us on where our tourist industry has taken us and how we're going. But my question to you all, I think that the people of this federation, especially in school from kindergarten coming up, we're supposed to educate them about tourism. Because tourism is our main industry right now. And I think that they're supposed to educate to that, know, and understand. Because even adults, big people, sometimes they go on the beach, go keep a party because you hear all talk about the beach. And they will let their stuff them there, let the beach messy. And then when you tell them about it, they say, got people cleaning the beach, man. People going to that. Oh, you got the environment, event park, park and beaches going to come in and clean up that. I said, no, man. Suppose a tourist want to come here right now and keep a little bar, company beach, come enjoy themselves. They're gonna see all these mess. Man, we got to keep our country clean because this is our main attraction right now, especially in Bastia and even in the rural areas. I believe that as a tourist destination now, that we're supposed to keep our country clean. Keep our country clean. And I believe that education is the key to go to help these people, to educate them about our tourist industry. Because some of them, they know better. They know that they know where we will lose. When tourists come in, they got to see an unhealthy environment, an unhealthy country. See, some of these places look so shabby and bad. You know, some people, what some people say that, oh, which part they come from, what's on us? We can't watch that. We got to think about we. And when they come, encourage them to come back in our country. Wonderful program. You are wonderful. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to speak to something that the caller spoke about in terms of when we clean the beach. Because the tourists might want to do something. I want to say something here, that when we speak to sustainable tourism, we are not speaking about and sustainable destination management. We're not speaking about cleaning the beach for the tourists. We speak about cleaning the beach for us first.
Yes.
That is why the theme of this forum is good for us, better for all. We're starting with us, the residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. Make it good for us, and then it will be better for anybody else who comes, for all who may come. That's what we want people to understand. We're cleaning it for ourselves. When chikungunya was prevalent, it affected us as locals. People weren't able to go to work. That would impact the industry. If the workers at the hotels can't go to work because the staff got chikungunya, where would chikungunya start? The water that's left to gather in these places where people leave empty containers, right? So even if we're not thinking about the visitors, we think about ourselves. When people go to the beach, I went to the beach on the Culturama Day, and I was appalled when I was leaving the beach around 6 o'clock, the amount of plates left on the beach with food. Cruise ship is coming in on the Wednesday morning. Now, who do we expect to clean the beach between Tuesday evening 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock Wednesday morning? It is no good to say that Parks and Beaches unit will clean it. When you go there with your stuff, take back your garbage with you. It is your garbage. Why don't you want to be associated with it?
Yeah, and I think, when we speak about sustainability, it might sound like a big word, but if we substitute it really for responsibility.
Exactly. It's about being responsible.
It's about being responsible. Responsible tourism. And the issue is, as I think Diane Neal said, it's not about cleaning the beach for the tourists. It's about first cleaning it for us.
Exactly.
Because we are the one, the tourists come and the tourists leave.
Right.
But we are here to stay.
and deal with the long-term consequences.
And deal with the long-term consequences.
Exactly.
You know, and that is basically it.
People have choices. They can decide where they want to go. They find St. Kitts too messy. They can move elsewhere, go because it's only for a vacation. We live here, and yes, people might say they can travel, but there's no place like home. You
That's
can go somewhere else and spend some time. Some people live away from home for many years, but if you listen to them speak about home, they speak of it with a longing. Because
Yes.
there's no place like home. We have to take care of our home.
Exactly.
Nobody else is gonna do it for us.
That is so true. It was interesting that earlier, Dianil, you began speaking about the sargassum and how that is a caller. Working for you, good afternoon.
Hello, my good friend, that's why.
Good afternoon, Jamdel.
It's nice to hear my co-worker, Daniel, how she dropping it in the public. Very good of her. I mean, she around since Hillary Watley, so you can't expect no better. She's a veteran in this thing. Daniel,
Yes, sir.
I'm glad that you've been over on the southeast end for the cultural weekend, and you
Yes.
see how we people behave. You know why they behave so?
Why?
We have policemen. See the abuse, and they does nothing. You know the big talk on the road right now with this littering thing? Oh, don't bother them, man. They're just only good for marijuana. As the caller before said, we have to educate these people. All in the focus you see it in a Daniel.
True.
In Pretoria Square, I used to clean it. I even feel bad enough to say who me see abusing this. So.
Wow.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
It's awful.
Yeah.
And we can't go down the road with that. I would like to see more awareness from the tourism department in locking.
We're doing it.
Especially in the Bastia area. I could tell you when you finish in the shop, go down 4th Street, right there, the palm tree, by slice of the lemon there.
Mm-hmm.
You see some jellyman operate, you know. It's good to see these youths making $1.
Right.
And Jelly stayed there since 2 weeks. And Bridges tired talk to these guys. These guys want to go over the court. Bridges tell them to pay $10. The Jelly's $5 and they can't pay $10 for Salisbury to pick them up. But if he say they're going to go down the market, you know, and I want the powers that be to stop playing game with this thing, you know. Because I don't come at them, you know, very seriously in the next 6 months, you know, coming at them hard if they abuse around Bastille. All who selling provisions supposed to go down in the market. Have a good day.
All right.
Thank you. Do you
But I just want to speak to the awareness. We are doing different things in terms of creating awareness. We have an education program in some pilot schools in the Federation, and we are hoping to expand that this September. We also have some education and awareness activities that we undertake. One, we have through the Sustainable Destination Council, we have a Facebook page. So we promote stuff on the Facebook page of the Sustainable Destination Council in terms of destination management. That is one of the channels we're using to educate our people about managing the destinations sustainably and their involvement, what they need to do as individuals. We want people to do things individually and corporately, right? So that we have something. We have always been commended about the cleanliness of our town, but over the years, in the last 5 or so years, I've begun to hear complaints about the state of Bastille, downtown Bastille. Mm-hmm. And we need to take stock of this, because just about a month or two ago, we heard that Royal Caribbean pulled out of one of the neighboring islands. Now, what was really funny about that, and not funny as in haha funny, but strange and concerning, is the fact that Royal Caribbean had invested in that port. They are one of the investors in the port, but they pulled out because of the harassment of the visitors and the lack of cleanliness of the destination. We can't wait until we reach that stage. I keep telling people St. Croix is still waiting for cruise ships to come back for an incident that took place over 20 years ago. Because once they've gone, it's harder to get them to come back. We cannot afford to stop the people. We're working really hard right now within tourism to increase the numbers on our stayovers. But people are not going to just come here because we ask them to come. They have to want to come. They have to know what they're getting into when they come into our destination. And if already you have situations, people are going back with negative reports in terms of cleanliness of the island, the friendliness, the harassment, those things. That help persons to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to come to our destination.
Word of mouth is one of the strongest determinants.
Yes. Now this forum is happening during this year, which is designated as the International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development.
Yes.
Yes, it is. And so the focus this year is on sustainable tourism and development. And by 2030, the UN has what you call Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. And tourism, of course, will fit into that in terms of, sustainability, because so many countries depend on tourism for a livelihood. It provides so many jobs, opportunities, and so on. And so it is something that we really have to protect so that generations to come can benefit from this product.
Right.
Dianil?
Yeah, we have the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes.
4 of which tourism are really of critical importance to 4 of these, but mainly because of livelihoods. Tourism is seen as an economic driver, and so we have to be mindful of these sustainable development goals. But we notice that previously, when the Millennium Development Goals were created, tourism did not play such a big part in the Millennium Development Goals. However, it is great to see that the powers that be have recognized how critically important tourism is to many of the destinations around the world. And so, with this new set of goals, tourism played an integral part in what it was when the goals were determined, right? So we have the SDGs, as a matter of fact, to solidify the development of the Sustainable Development Goals, which was done in 2015. 2017 was designated the International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development. So we're talking about tourism as an avenue for development within countries. And that is what we're doing this year. We are acknowledging that. That is why St. Kitts has made the effort to have this forum, because we recognize how important sustainable tourism is to us as a country. I mean, we don't have oil. I understand Guyana has now found pockets of oil and gas.
Yes.
Right? I don't know if maybe somewhere down the line we would make such a discovery. But for now, what we've discovered is that tourism works for us. We have heritage sites in abundance. We have friendly people, and we want to keep it that way.
Right. I think one of the things that we didn't touch is in terms of social equity.
Yes.
When it comes to...
That's one of the development goals.
Yes, when it comes to sustainable tourism. How can more people get a piece of the pie?
Well, I think there's multiple ways. I think that's where the innovation and the diversification that we've talked about comes in. It's really easy to see what's already being done on island for tourism and say that you want to replicate that and make another beach bar or get another taxi. We have plenty of those. What we need is something new, something different that will attract the tourists. And I think that is where things like the community tourism officer come into play. That is the liaison with the regular Joe, if you will, throughout the island. And that is who is going to be going to town hall meetings and talking about brainstorming opportunities and expanding tourism in the communities, not just in the city center and in the peninsula. So I think that's a key part of social equity of sustainable tourism development.
Sure. Now, Diane, is there anything that you would like to let the audience know about the forum? Anything more about the forum before we leave?
I think we've basically covered everything with respect to the forum, but I want to remind persons that the deadline for registration is on Friday. That's just 2 days away from us. What is important to us is that you get in your registration forms by the deadline. I mean, we are happy to give persons who would have registered maybe a few days beyond for payment, but we definitely would need to have your registration forms in by Friday so that our planning and catering is all in place so that we have a successful event. I also wanted to point out that another component of the forum is, while we have this captive audience, they're going to see some aspects of the destination, but the forum is on St. Kitts. We are also going to have what we call pre and post forum tours. People who come in early or are staying longer, we are arranging tours on Nevis. We have one scheduled for Friday. We have one scheduled for Saturday. Scenic Railway has also come on board to offer a special rate for persons who are here on the Friday who would want to go on a Scenic Railway tour of the island. And we're also going to have a special rate from Sky Safaris for persons who want to do zip lining while they're here on the island. So those are some of the things we have put in place so that we have benefits spreading throughout the destination. And it's not just localized at the forum. Other business persons, other enterprises will be able to benefit from us having here. As a matter of fact, we've deliberately left one evening free for participants to go and experience the destination.
Okay. And now, where can people access this information about the forum?
Forum information can be found at www.caribbeanstc.com. You can also go to Facebook to the St. Kitts SDC page. There's also information about the forum at that page. So it's facebook.com/St. Kitts SDC, and you'll get information on the forum. You can also call the Ministry of Tourism at 467-1390 and ask for myself, Diane, or ask for Annette. We'll be able to share any information you would like about the forum.
Is there anything you would like to say, Annette, before we go?
I would just say that this is an exciting opportunity in the forum to learn more about what is going on and be a part of the development process moving forward. And it's also a really exciting opportunity for Kititions to join in on. This is a St. Kitts event with CTO, so we want to make sure that we're represented as well as that Kititions are benefiting from it. So I would just say don't miss out on this opportunity.
Okay. Well, that has been it. This is Working for You for today, the 23rd day of August, 2017. I want to thank, in a very special way, my esteemed guests from the Ministry of Tourism, Diane Taylor-Williams, who has been here before. She is the Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism with special responsibility for sustainable tourism. Probably the most important thing about tourism that we can talk about.
Definitely.
It's sustainability.
Definitely.
And then, of course, we have Annette. Annette, where are you from, Annette?
I'm from New Mexico originally.
Okay, New Mexico. Okay, in the U.S. So your surname is Spanish. Esquivel. Esquivel.
Yes.
Who is the coordinator of sustainable tourism in the Ministry of Tourism. I want to thank you both.
Thank you for
Mr.
having
Williams.
us.
Okay. Today you have been listening to another edition of Working for You, where we were talking about the Climate Smart Sustainable Tourism Forum. We were talking about issues in sustainable tourism and being climate smart and so on. This forum is on from September 6th to the 8th, 2017. If you haven't signed up yet, please think about signing up. For all of you who joined us today on today's program, I want to thank you for listening. For those of you who called in and shared your concerns, I want to thank you as well. I am Les Roy Williams, your host. We will see you next week for another edition of Working for You. Have a good day.
Working for You. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Les Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.